Hello, everybody. What's going on? This your girl Tiffany coming through right here, live in effect. So make sure you hit this notification bell. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share this video if you like to do so. All right. So today's topic, I will be dealing with Fela Kuti. All right, Fela Kuti was a Nigerian musician. He was a political activist and he was a pan-Africanist. Yes, he was a Pan-Africanist. He was very prominent in not only within the African culture and the but in the world period. So he has made a lot of impact. He made a lot of noise with his political lyrics, right? And plus the skills that he done had, such as playing instruments, whether it be drumming, whether it be the saxophone, whatever. This man was gifted, and he created a sound that we know of today, which is called Afrobeats. So Afrobeat is the combination of reggae, jazz, R&B, and you have other cultural sounds, distinction that's mixed in it as well. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started on him. And I want to say hello to everybody that's in the chat. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank y'all for watching. All right, let's go ahead. As you can see, this is Fela Kuti. That's Mr. Kuti. So who is he and what's his background? Well, let's find out. And I will be showing multiple sources so that way you guys can also, look it up if you want to find out for yourself. But let's look at his background. All right, that's Fela Kuti. All right, Fela Kuti was born on October the 15th, 1938, and he died on August 2nd, 1997. He was a Nigerian multi-instrumentalist, band leader, composer, political activist, and Pan-Africanist. He is best known as a pioneer of the Afrobeat genre, a blend of traditional Yoruba, Afro-Cuban music with funk and jazz. At the height of his popularity, he was referred to as one of Africa's most challenging and charismatic music performers. All music described him as a musical and socio-political voice of international significance. Fela was the son of Nigerian women's rights activist, let me see if I can pronounce this, Fumalato Ramson Kuti. After early experiences abroad, he and his band Africa 70, including drummer Tony Allen, became stars in Nigeria during the 1970s, during which time he was an outspoken critic and target of Nigeria's military junta. In 1970, he founded the Kalakuta Republic Commune, which declared itself independent from military rule, and was destroyed in a violent 1977 raid. Since his death in 1997, reissues and compilation of his music have been overseen by his son, Fela Kuti. All right, so that's a little brief introduction. So let's look at his biography. So he was born in Abeokuta, the modern-day capital of Ogun State, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, then a city in the British colony of Nigeria, into an upper middle-class family. His mother, Chief Familayo Kuti, was a feminist activist in the anti-colonial movement. His father, Reverend Israel Oludantu Ramson Kuti, and Anglican minister and school principal, was the first president of the Nigerian Union of Teachers. His brothers, Beko Ramson Kuti and Olikoye Ramson Kuti, both medical doctors, were well known in Nigeria. Fela is a first cousin to the Nigerian writer Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka, the first Black African to win the Nobel Peace Prize for Literature. All right, so now let's look at his education. Fela attended Abukuta Grammar School. Later, he was sent to London in 1958 to study medicine, but decided to study music instead at the Trinity College of Music. The trumpet began being his preferred instrument. While there, he performed the band Kula Libitos, playing a fusion of jazz and high life. In 1960, Fela married his first wife, Remeli Kun, or she also known as Remy Taylor, with whom he would have 3 children, Femi, Yemi, and Sola. In 1963, Fela moved back to the newly independent Federation of Nigeria, reformed Kula Libitos, and trained as a radio producer for the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation. He played for some time with Victor Oyeya and his All-Stars. So let's start right here. He comes from a good background. So he comes from social political activism, by his mother being a feminist during the time of neocolonialism, and his father being a minister, a pastor, and come from the upper middle class family. He already come from a foundation, right? And he already had it set in his mind of what he was going to do and how he was going to go about his choices in life and what he wanted to pursue in life. So let's continue to look more into details. All right, in 1967, Fela went to Ghana looking for a new musical direction. It was then that Kuti first called his music Afrobeat, a combination of high life, funk, jazz, salsa, calypso, and traditional Nigerian Yoruba music. In 1969, Fela took the band to the United States, where they spent 10 minutes in Los Angeles. While there, Fela discovered the Black Power movement through Sandra Smith, a partisan of the Black Panther Party. The experience would heavily influence his music and political views. He renamed the band Nigeria 70. Soon after, the Immigration and Naturalization Service was tipped off by a promoter that Fela and his band were in the U.S. without work permits. The band performed a quick recording session in Los Angeles that would later be released as the 69 Los Angeles session. And so let's go down here in the 70s, right? After Fela and his band returned to Nigeria, the group was renamed the Africa 70 as lyrical themes changed from love to social issues. He formed the Fela Kuti Republic, a commune, a recording studio, and a home for the many people connected to the band that he later declared independent from the Nigerian state. According to Lindsay Barrett, the name Fela Kuti derived from the infamous black hole of Calcutta dungeon in India. Fela set up a nightclub in the Empire Hotel, first named the Afro Spot and later the Africa Shrine, where he both performed regularly and officiated at personalized Yoruba traditional ceremonies in honor of his nation's ancestral faith. He also changed his name to Enikulapo, meaning he who carries death in his pouch, with the interpretation, I will be the master of my own destiny and will decide when it is time for death to take me. He stopped using the hyphenated surname Ransom because it was a slave name. Wow. All right, so now let's go down here. It says Fela music was popular among the Nigerian public and Africans in general. In fact, he made the decision to sing in Pidgin English so that his music could be enjoyed by individuals all over Africa, where the local languages spoken are very diverse and numerous. As popular as Fela's music had become in Nigeria and elsewhere, it was also very unpopular with the ruling government, and raised on the Fela Kuti Republic were fluent. During the 1972, Ginger Baker recorded Strata Stradivarius with Fela appearing alongside Bobby Tench. Around this time, Kuti became even more involved in the Yoruba religion. So one day I'm gonna talk about the Yoruba culture, but as you can see, he grew up in the Yoruba culture. That was his life. That was his tradition. So, a lot of Yoruban people study Ifa and things of that nature. That's what he did, and he incorporated that into his music. That was a part of him that was never going to leave. So what we got to understand as African Americans, that when we look at our ancestry, we're going to find out that we do have a lot of Nigerian ancestry, okay? And that can be traced back to those within the Yoruba tribe and other tribes in Nigeria, but particularly Yoruba, because that's who came over here during slavery. And then also you would discover that you got those from Ghana that are Akan, you got the Fulani, the Hausa, the Wolof, all multiple tribes that we are mixed with, right? They were all brought here. So so he was very prideful about the Yoruba culture and the Yoruba religious practice, to the point that he incorporated the sound into his music, because that was a part of him. That was an aspect of him that he was not going to ever let go. All right. So we're going to skip down a little bit. Okay, let's look up in 1980s. What did he do in 1980s? All right, so in the 1980s, Muhammadu Buhari's government, of which Kuti was a vocal opponent, jailed him on a charge of currency smuggling, which Amnesty International and others denounced as politically motivated. Amnesty designated him a prisoner of conscience. And what does that mean? That means a prisoner of conscience is anyone in prison because of their race, sexual orientation, religion, or political views. The terms also refer to those who have been imprisoned or persecuted for non-violent expression of their conscientiously held beliefs. And his case was also taken up by other human rights groups. After 20 months, he was released from prison by General Ibrahim Babangida. On his release, he divorced his 12 remaining wives, saying that, wait, hold on, let me read that again. That's crazy. After 20 months, he was released from prison by General Ibrahim Babangida. On his release, he divorced his 12 remaining wives, saying that marriage brings jealousy and selfishness. Once again, Fela continued to release albums with Egypt 80, made a number of successful tours of the United States and Europe, and also continued to be politically active. In 1986, Fela performed in Giants Stadium in New Jersey as a part of the Amnesty International A Conspiracy of Hope concert, sharing the bill with Bruno Carlos Santana and the Novell Brothers. In 1989, Fela and Egypt 80 released the anti-apartheid Beast of No Nation that depicts on its cover U.S. President Ronald Reagan, UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher, and South African State President Peter William Botha. The title of the composition, as Barrett noted, evolved out of a statement by Botha. This uprising against the apartheid system will bring out the beast in us. All right, and then Fela's album slowed in 1990s, and eventually he stopped releasing albums altogether. In 1993, he and 4 members of the Africa 70 organization were arrested for murder. The battle against military corruption in Nigeria was taking its toll, especially during the rise of Sani Abacha. Rumors were also spreading that he was suffering from an illness for which he was refusing treatment. So let's go down here to his death. On August the 3rd, 1997. Olikole Ramson Kuti, already a prominent AIDS activist and former Minister of Health, announced his younger brother's death a day earlier from complications related to AIDS. However, there has been no definitive proof that Kuti died from complications related to AIDS and HIV. And much skepticism surrounds this alleged cause of death and the source that has popularized this claim. More than 1 million people attended Fela's funeral at the site of the old shrine compound. The new Africa Shrine has opened since Fela's death in a different section of Lagos under the supervision of his own son, Femi. His youngest son, Seun, took the role of leading Fela's former band, Egypt 80. As 2020, the band is still active, releasing music under the moniker Fela Kuti and Egypt 80. All right. So, woo. So as of today, nobody knows what his cause of death was. It has been told that he had contracted AIDS and HIV, and he died from that. Now, let's talk about the whole situation regarding to his marriage. Now, I've seen his documentary in the past, which was called Fela, right? And most of the time, they were showing clips of him doing the talking and talking about his life and how he grew up and how he got involved in music, social activism, etc. All right. Now, I did see a part where he was married to 12 women all at once. Yeah, he married all of them. What we have to understand, right, in the African culture especially, polygamy is very well practiced in those African countries, especially within West Africa. They do practice a lot of polygamy because they believe in keeping the generation going, right? They believe in building up communities, having a family, a large family, and also they look at it from an economic standpoint as well. So yes, you have a lot of those that believe in practicing polygamy, and particularly it's very common amongst men. So within his culture, yeah, by him having 12 wives, that's very common. That's normal. That's a normal way of life. All right. But then some of his wives was prostitutes. So yeah, they were prostitutes. They was coming from the streets. Like he picked up some of those women off the streets and married them. And then the other ones he met before in the past. So yep, that's just the culture of polygamy. But now today, people who try to practice polygamy, they have no understanding of it. They have no discipline. When you get into a polygamy relationship, you just can't marry multiple people and do whatever you want. No, you got to be able to form some discipline when it comes down to that. Because if you don't have any discipline, then you might as well not even get in and talk about no polygamy relationship. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's required of. Real talk. You got to have patience with that. You got to be able to know how to maintain being with multiple partners at a time. Let's see what else we're going to go ahead and look at. Okay, so let's look at music. So what was his style of music like? It was called Afrobeat, a style he largely created, which is a complex of jazz, funk, and Ghanaian high life, psychedelic rock, and traditional West African chants and rhythm. Afrobeat also borrows heavily from the native Tinker Pan. Tony Allen, a Fela drummer of 20 years, was instrumental in the creation of Afrobeat. Fela once stated that there would be no Afrobeat without Tony Allen. Now, Afrobeat is characterized by a fairly large band with many instruments, vocals, and a musical structure featuring jazzy, funky horn section, a reef-based endless groove is used in which a bass rhythm or drum, shikere, muted West African style guitar, and melodic bass guitars riff are repeated throughout the song, commonly interlocking melodic riffs and rhythms are introduced one by one, building the groove bit by bit and layer by layer. The horn section then becomes permanent, introducing other riffs and main melodic themes. Now, it says Fela Band was notable for featuring two baritone saxophone, whereas most groups were using only one of this instrument. This is a common technique in African and African-influenced musical styles and can be seen in funk and hip-hop. His bands at times even perform with two bassets at the same time, both playing interlocking melodies and rhythms. There were always two or more guitarists. The electric West African style guitar and Afrobeat bands are paramount, but are used to give basic structure, playing a repeated chordal, melodic statement, riff, or groove. All right. So that's the style of Afrobeat. And that's how the original Afrobeat sound was: a jazz, funk, and high life and psychedelic rock and West African chants and rhythms. Okay, so today Afrobeat is more up tempo, sort of. Yep. So let's get down to here. It say Fela was part of an Afrocentric consciousness movement that was founded on and delivered through his music. In an interview found in the Hank Berdowswick, Berdowswick's Analyst Noise of the World, Fela stated music is supposed to have an effect. If you're playing music and people don't feel something, you're not doing shit. That's what African music is about. When you hear something, you must you must move. I want to move people to dance, but also to think. Music wants to dictate a better life against a bad life. When you're listening to something that depicts having a better life and you're not having a better life, it must have an effect on you. Okay. So we already looked at his political views and his activism, etc. Right? All right, it says in 1970, Kuti began to run outspoken political columns in the advertising space of daily and weekly newspaper as the Daily Times and the Punch, bypassing editorial censorship in Nigeria's predominantly state-controlled media. Published throughout the 1970s and 1980s under the title Chief Priest Say, these columns were an extension of Kuti's famous Yabi sessions, consciousness raising word sound rituals with himself as chief priest, conducted at his Lagos nightclub, organized around a mentally Afrocentric rendering of history and the essence of Black beauty. Chief priests say focus on the role of cultural hegemony in the continuing subjugation of Africans. Kuti's addressed a number of topics from explosive denunciation of the Nigerian government's criminal behavior, Islamic Christianity, exploitative nature, and evil multinational corporation to deconstruction of Western medicine, Black Muslims, sex, pollution, and poverty. Chief Priest Say was canceled first by the Daily Times, then by the Punch. Many have speculated that the paper's editors were increasingly pressured to stop publication, included by violence. All right. So again, he was very outspoken. And then there's also an annual festival called the Celebration, held each year to celebrate the life of this music legend and his birthday. All right. So there's more information I want to show If you want to find out more, you can come on Wiki One, and then you can look up information under the reference. All right, so here's the references that you can look for if you want to find out more information regarding to Fela Kuti. All right. So now I got some more information that you guys can check out. Real quick. This one is called The Kuti and Oppositional Lyrical Power by Tendai Sito. And this was written in 2012. Okay, in the Journal of Music Research in Africa. All right, so it's called Fela Kuti and the Oppositional Lyrical Power, right? The University of South Africa, Department of Political Sciences. And it says here, introduction, Afrobeat is and has always been the musical kind associated with Fela and Kuti. His lyrical power cuts through the political milieu in the form of opposition politics. Political dissatisfaction is the very basis of the music that confronts the post-colony. This is because the lyrics are self-evidence that he was a firebrand, and the band of the civil and military repressive state apparatus of federalist Nigeria. Fela is a complex and controversial figure, and what can be clearly stated is that he did not claim any form of political ideology purity. He has not been able to make it to the list of those who are claiming to be a paragons of morality. Political commitments have been the center of Fela's life since he pursued the idea of the utopian society, as he was the voice of reason to those who were oppressed, marginalized, and excluded. Okay, so the focus will be on the political opposition that has characterized Fela's musical political form. In a way, his musical lyric has been the one that was used as a weapon to advance the political nature, which will create the humane society in a way. Fela's music was not mere entertainment, but pedagogically oppositional, with the intention of unmasking the injustice of the African post-colonial state. All right, so now down here, it gets on to the part about the Afrobeat, a brief. Fela's music is tied with a political code, and that is why the music as Afrobeat. The musical form that channeled the oppositional politics were anti-establishment par excellence. Afrobeat is the musical form that comprises various musical elements, but that can easily, when blended, to be relevant to Africa. Vale articulates this musical form thus. Afrobeat, as played by Fela, was a political music obviously rooted in the high life tradition, but stretched far beyond in the premieres of the genre. It was jazzy, but not virtuosistic. It was funky, but not vigorously. But hold on, Afrobeat, a musical form that Fela is identified with as the originator and performer, is a politically charged music which is oppositional. This is because Fela, as the ideological patron of this music, happened to form and articulate its lyricality in the context of the being the agitator of the oppressive post-colonial state apparatus. Essentially, Afrobeat is the music that is politically embedded and more so from the perspective of the originator, Fela, who remains Africa's most challenging and charismatic popular music performer. According to Moore, Afrobeat emerged as a necessary synthesis, the cry, the shout, the lament, the call and response to all of the earlier chaotic centuries of blood and violence and their cacophonous legacy. This demonstrates that Afrobeat is the music that is politically charged, a charge with fused agency. This is found in the musical form that is identified with as the agent of social, cultural, and political reform. As Olanian states, Afrobeat is the music that changed the whole landscape, where Fela adopted the interventionist role without fear of state power. All right. And so this is coming from the article of Fela Kuti and the Oppositional Lyrical Power, Tindai Sitho, and this can be found in the Journal of Music Research in Africa. Okay, and was written in the Department of Political Science, University of South Africa. All right, it was published around 2012. So that's one source of information. Yes, I love Afro house music. Yes, Afro house music is the best music. Yes, it is. I love it. That's one of my favorites to listen to. I love house music in general, but Afro house happens to be one of my favorite of all time. All right, so let's look up the other article. Hopefully you guys can see that. All right. All right, this one's called Fela and Kuti, The Art of an Afrobeat Rebel. Author Rendell F. Grass. The source is called The Drama Review, TDR, Spring of 1986, Volume 30, Number 1, Spring of 1986, page 131 to 148, published by the MIT Press, right? Can be found at www.jaster.org. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and get started. The name of the author of this article is Randall F. Grass. Okay, that's Fela Kuti. Expensive Shit, Fela, Ransom Kuti, and Africa 70. All right, now let's go look at this article in the beginning. It says a photograph flashed around the world in October 1984. It captured Fela Enikulapo Kuti, Africa's most controversial musician, at a particularly dramatic moment in the long-running morality play he had been enacting with the Nigerian government. Flanked by soldiers, Fela raised his fist and grinned, a pose he had struck on stage and for album jackets. His arrest on the eve of what would have been a triumphant American tour was the logical consequence of confrontational art taken to its limit. Fela has spent more than 15 years making an artistic statement by breaking down the barriers between his artistic performance and his private life. He has obliterated the notion of performance as something existing separating from life. He extends a traditional African concept of art, especially music, as being an integral component of both ordinary and extraordinary human activity. Typically, though, he turned such tradition upside down, even as he affirmed them. This is one reason why Fela Enikulapo Kuti remains Africa's most challenging and charismatic popular music performer. Again, and then it goes on to say, in many traditional African cultures, including the Yoruba, in which Fela was raised, music and dance are tied to every aspect of life. Every activity has a particular rhythm and a particular song and a particular dance. Musician plays a functional role within the society because many activities cannot properly be undertaken without them. Only certain people may become musicians, usually persons from a lineage of musician or those who have passed through an approved apprenticeship. Music can be a bridge to animating forces of nature or to the spirit world of the ancestors and the unborn, as well as to deities who influence the material world. The highly sophisticated rhythms of African music evoke the manifold rhythms of creation. This complexity frequently demands a large group of musicians creating communally. All right. So this is this article right here. And if you want to check this article out, that's the name of it. At the top, I'm going to highlight it for you. And then that's the author. And here's the sources, the published, etc. So you can check that out for yourself. You can look it up. All right. And then last but not least, okay, so here's a book which is entitled Fela, Kuta Notes, John Collins. John Collins. All right, so let's look at, here it is, the table, what this was written in 2015. All right, the table of contents. All right, as you can see, there's the chapter Early Days, the birth of Afrobeat, John Messiah remembers, Fela in Ghana, Stan Palange remembers. All right, and then there's the part 2, confrontation. Part 3, the chronology. All right, so let's just read the introduction of this book. All right, so I'm going to read the introduction. It says, Fela Kuti was Africa's archetypal Pan-African protest singer who lyrics condemned neocolonialism in general and the Nigerian authorities in particular. During his turbulent lifetime, and particularly since his death in 1997, this controversial Nigerian creator of Afrobeat and spokesman for the poor of downtrodden masses or sufferheads of Africa has generated an enormous level of international interest. He has been the subject of many books and PhD dissertations, thousands of column inches of newsprint, both in Nigeria and elsewhere. In the mid-1980s, he became an official prisoner of conscience, Amnesty International. Throughout his stormy career, he has been the source of more wild and uninformed gossip than almost any musician of the 20th century. Fela, the chief priest of Afrobeat, the aspiring Black president, Enikuli Lapo, who carries death in his pocket, Abami Ido, the weird one and strange being, died in Lagos, age 58 in August 2nd, 1997. Fela did two remarkable and unique things in his life. First of all, he almost single-handedly created Afrobeat with a new genre of African popular music that is adored by fans throughout Africa and that has influenced numerous African and international musicians. Second, his unsurpassed militancy. He took African music into the arena of direct political action, a fighting spirit reflecting his own contrary lifestyle and his catalog of anti-establishment songs dedicated to Pan-Africanism and Nigerian masses. All right. So, and then it goes on to say that he was a musical warrior who drew heavily on age-old connection between music, militancy, and violence. Lyrically, his music dwelled on the confrontational aspect of life, from which he obtained enormous inspiration. Indeed, if there was not sufficient confrontation to inspire a song, he would create that confrontation first, a unique creative device that often resulted in direct battles with the Nigerian authorities. In his song, Fela went much further than the oft-quoted pantheon of international protest singers such as Bob Dylan, James Brown, and Bob Marley. Whereas their confrontations with establishment authority were couched in terms of the time they are a changing. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud, and the evils of Babylon. Fela songs not only protested against various forms of injustice, but often fiercely attacked specific agencies such as Al Gabon Close, which mocked the police criminal investigation department headquarters in Lagos, where Fela was imprisoned in 1974. His 1976 Zombie album was an insulting caricature of the Nigerian army mentality that became a battle cry across a continent that was plagued by military regimes at the time. Sometimes he named names his songs. Coffin for a Head of State was directed against Nigeria's then military ruler and later civilian president, General Olusegun Obasanjo. International thief criticized the U.S. multinational company, International Telephone and Telegraph Corporation, which set up a telecommunication system in Nigeria under Chief Mashood Abola, who later stood for president of Nigeria. It says, as the dust over Fela's fury, promiscuous, rascally, and egotistic lifestyle, his Afrobeat grooves lives on. He will always be remembered as the most radical musical spokesman of the African poor. His peppery character in the African soup continues to be sorely missed. All right, so that's come from this book right here, which is called Fela, which is written by John Collins. All right, so and it says second edition. So you can go ahead and you can find this on a PDF, or you can go check it out on Amazon. Whatever you gotta do, you can look it up on Amazon. You can go even look up the ebook on Amazon, and you can check it out for yourself and just download the book if you want to. All right. So, with that being said, that'll be all for today. If you guys want to go ahead and share this video, please do so. And thank you guys who's out there sharing these videos, sharing the information to people. I appreciate that. Hopefully it helps somebody to furthermore do their research, gather more information or whatnot. I hope that I did a good job by presenting the sources to you all, because that's what I'm here to do, just present the source and you guys can just look it up for yourself. Also, make sure you hit and subscribe and like the channel as well. Share the channel. Do all that good stuff, okay? I appreciate everybody subscribing. I appreciate those of you that have subscribed to the channel. I really do. Hopefully, I will continue to grow this platform and get more people involved and do more things with it. But as of right now, I'm just taking one little step at a time. So until then, thank you guys so much. Please be safe out there. And I will reconnect with you all later. So with that being said, may peace and power elevation be to you all. And be safe. And I'm getting ready to listen to some Fela music. So I hope you guys enjoy yourselves and enjoy your day off, or be mentally prepared when you're getting ready to go to work and whatnot. Remember, the power is in you. You have the power to change your circumstances. You have the power to control what's going on in your life around you. So the power starts in the mind. And that's where the power is, in the mind. Remember that. All right. So until then, peace. And I will reconnect with you all later. All right then.